On behalf of His Holiness the Sit Krishna Maharaj, the Temple President of the Bhaktivedanta Ashram at Govardhan Hill, we welcome everyone for this observance of the Tirobhav, or the disappearance day of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. A bittersweet day in which we remember our purpose in carrying on the mission of Śrīla Prabhupada, and we hear the realizations of the devotees who are doing that and how they're feeling connected with Prabhupada and inspired by his life and precepts. So we'll have several speakers today, and the Prabhupada disciples that are here, if you wish to speak, please let Sudhira know. He'll put you on the list. And since there'll be quite a few speakers today and we'll be finishing at the latest by 12:30, you can budget your time accordingly. And others who wish to speak, we'd also like to have a variety of generations. So I've talked to a few of you, and I know a couple of devotees who don't mind speaking. So I might call on you at a certain time if I see how the time is working out. And with Sri Krishna Maharaj's permission, we can start with the bhajan. In separation from Śrīla Prabhupada, we'll sing Jaya Nela Premadana. So we'll start by inviting His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj to speak. Welcome, Maharaj. Swagatam Suswagatam. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We might be Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. As Vaisesika Prabhu hinted, this is a bittersweet day. The bitterness is obviously due to the great loss of Prabhupada in our individual lives and for the world. And the sweetness is, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it is said, if we become mindful of someone whom we miss, then that person is there in some ways. So Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale. Please join me. Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskatyade Satarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Yes. Like this. Hare Krishna. Once Srila Prabhupada mentioned that there is one verse in the entire Vedic scripture which is the most important one. One single verse. He chose from the whole storehouse of Vedic knowledge and said, this is the essence. You all, there are a few very learned devotees. First and foremost, I know that Vaisesika Prabhu's command over verses is just really phenomenal. It is, you can go into the Guinness record for remembering verses, I think. So I will not ask him because he will know. But what would you say if what could be the essence of the Vedic scriptures? Srinvatam Svakata Krishna. You must be a disciple of Vaisesika Prabhu. Our devotee, your good name? Patitam Pavan Prabhu has marked the verse. Yasya Deva Parabhaktiya Yata Deva Tata Guru Tasyaita Katita Hyarta Prakashante Mahatmana. It's from the Svetashvatara Upanishads, text 23, and it says, only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the Spiritual Master are all the imports of the Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Please take note, you need to have a dual faith. I don't know if this is the right English way. You have to have faith in two. In the Spiritual Master and in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then something can take place which is so important on the genuine path of Krishna consciousness. A revelation can take place. Revelation means from an inaccessible place something is given to you. That is a revelation. No, it is, revelations are independent of the one to whom they are revealed, in the sense that the one who has a revelation has not done anything to make it happen. It is given to him as a gift from above. No? My dear devotees, you can study the books, you can do many things, but the full understanding will blossom in your heart only when it is given to you. And that is, it will be given to you when you have placed your faith in the Spiritual Master, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada marked this as the essence of the entire body of spiritual knowledge. There's another verse in the Bhagavatam which highlights this again. It is like this. Naisham matistavat urukramangrim sprisyat yanata pagamo yadata mahiya sampado rajobhishekam nishkinchananam navrinita yavat. This will sound very drastic for the Western mind. And it sounded very, very drastic to Hiranyakashipu when Prahlad Maharaj told him how the spiritual knowledge which he had, or spiritual realization, is possible. Please listen with curious attention. Unless, or you could say only if, they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava who is completely freed from material contamination. Unless they do this, persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord in this way, smearing the dust upon the body, can one be freed from material contamination. So what does this mean? Does this mean to take it, the dust like this, I forgot some places. What does this mean? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains. He says, what does smearing our bodies with the dust of a Vaishnava mean? Remember, that's the only way in which one can become Krishna conscious. He says, this means washing ourselves in the good example of their Vaishnav behavior and their knowledge. Then only our intelligence will touch the Lord's lotus feet. The angle is too, now it won't fall. So, have you understood what is the process? Wash yourself with the example, study the example of a pure Vaishnava and the knowledge. Then only will you be able to leave with your intelligence the confines of material understanding, the prison of perception in which you're presently locked up, and touch or reach or access Krishna as he is. By the way, it's always good to be in contact with Braj Raj. That is also very good. So, such a devotee, where this works, is described by Prabhupada in the purport to the 12th chapter of the Gita, a devotee of this high caliber, no, does not live on the material plane. He lives in Krishna. He lives in Krishna. So, placing our faith in such a devotee means let us study his behavior as he walked through life. Let us listen to his words as he spoke, or as he has written this in his written things. My dear devotees, I think many of those talented speakers who come after me will give us snips and snippets of Srila Prabhupada's words of knowledge. I want to leave this for others. I think it's every year it's done like this, at least. I would like to draw your attention to Prabhupada's outstanding example. I once asked Shruti Kirti, is his name Shruti Kirta? Please help me. Shruta Kirti Prabhu. In your dealings with Prabhupada, was there a difference between Prabhupada before the door and behind the door? What I meant is, was there a difference between how Prabhupada presented himself in the words of Krishna consciousness to the world, and what he did in a private when no one saw him? I mean, the servant will have seen him. That is behind the locked door of his room. And Shruta Kirti thought for a while. He said, in terms of following what he said, there was no difference. Only the Prabhupada in his room was very kind. He gave me a donation when my child was born. I should buy him some golden necklace. Yes, thank you. And very human, human always, but very kind and personal. And of course, when he sat on the Vyasasan, he presented and so on. When I saw Srila Prabhupada's example in Schloss Rettershof, he stayed with us for a time which felt like eternity. I don't really know, it must be 2 weeks or so, really long in Germany, because of doing his BBT work, translating from English to German. Devotees were so kind to allow me to sit before his door and do my translation or editing or whatever, or proofreading before the door, and remember the sometimes energetic German devotees tread like an angel here, don't make such noise, and so on. So I was there, and I had an opportunity, being very curious, to study Prabhupada behind the door. I often heard him singing in his room. Singing, it was a double sound isolated door. I don't know all the things he sang. Some I recognized, some bhajans, I opened the first door. There were 2 doors, so the first door. He was often singing, my dear devotees. He lived in Krishna. He was in Krishna. One time I saw him coming out of his door. It was during the afternoon when the majority of our temple devotees were either sleeping or were on Sankirtan, so it was very peaceful. And My dear devotees, who can forget Prabhupada when he was private? He just moved out of his room. His face was very totally absorbed. He was very erect. I saw his eyes were moist. Moist means wet with with some deep thought. And he would walk slowly. And he really, I've never seen a person move like this, with a certain graciousness. If I would have been able to, I always wanted to lie down on the floor and see if his feet touched the floor, but then I would have disturbed him with this unusual position. So I controlled myself. He was very absorbed. And I could see he was not alone. There was a presence in his heart, or with him, that made him move, that made him absorbed like this. In a letter to one devotee, Trivikram Maharaj, I think at that time not yet, he written in December 1974. I don't know, maybe he was at that time. What? He was 74. Trivikram Maharaj. You can see a little bit of the hidden place in Prabhupada's heart. This is the letter. Brahmananda Swami, he says, seemed to think that you need more men there. Then he quotes the telegram from Brahmananda. Trivikram alone, more men required urgently. I do not understand what he means by alone. What is this alone? Vaishnava is never alone. When I first came to the United States, I was seemingly alone for 1 year. But I never felt alone. I always felt the presence of my Guru Maharaj. Myself, I was cooking, I was printing books, I was selling books, everything seemingly alone. But I did not lose my determination. Actually, you should know this. You are never alone. Now, psychologically, the feeling of being alone is one of the greatest trouble for us. That's why no one can refrain from using their mobile telephone even for a moment. Maybe you're using it now. Yes, I spotted one. It might be that you did some important things. Please don't take offense. But it is a fact psychologically that if someone feels entirely abandoned by God and the world, they say in poetry, it's a very, very difficult situation. Therefore, the fear of being alone and the fear of death are shoulder and shoulder in terms of fears. Only a great soul who has being able to touch the Lord's lotus feet, or who touching the lotus feet, who is, in other words, in the best company of Krishna, can overcome this problem. When you are afraid of being alone by yourself, it means you are in very bad company. You need to do something. You didn't catch it. We are only with people in a room whom we trust. When we are with a rascal in a room, we are very bad. So when you sit alone in your room and you feel ill at ease, it means you are in bad company. You need to change something in your personality. This is very important. Therefore, Burijan Prabhu, he has designed a new retreat, alone with Krishna. I said to him, people will be afraid of this title, Alone with Krishna. Especially our Hare Krishna, Hare Ramas, they can't be alone. And then no mobile telephone. Why don't you call it Together with Krishna? It's the same, but no, let us call it Alone with Krishna. My dear devotees, only someone who is together with Krishna can be alone. And this is what Srila Prabhupada's example is there. In the CC, he says, he talks, Tulasi parikrama kara tulasi sevana nirantara Krishna nama kariha kirtana. After planting the tulsi tree before your house, you should daily circumambulate that tulasi plant. Serve her by giving her what? Water, yes, and other things, incense, flowers, and continuously chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then Prabhupada gives instructions how we should do this. He says, a small cottage can be constructed without any expenditures. 4 logs serving as pillars can be secured by any man from the forest. The roof can be covered with leaves and one can cleanse the inside. Thus one can live very peacefully in any condition. Any person can live in a small cottage, plant a tulasi tree, water it in the morning, offer it prayers and continuously chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Thus one can make vigorous spiritual advancement. This is not at all difficult. So here you can see Prabhupada's heartbeat a little bit. I will draw to the close now. Once, my dear devotees, I climbed up his balcony from outside, free climbing, and came on his balcony when he was resting, and I wanted to see what is he doing when he's sleeping. Is he sleeping differently? And I went to the window. It was a little open, and I could see him lying down in bed. He was facing me, and I heard Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What is the Hare Krishna people always take every opportunity to chant? You have not chanted? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. He was sleeping and he was chanting. He lives in Krishna. So I looked with that, wide open mouth, staring glance, exactly how a person looks, which goes totally on your nerves. And Prabhupada just opened one eye and just looked at me. He had become aware of me, and his glance said, "Enough." So I hurried over the balcony and then again climbed down the lightning conductor. I had the information I needed, I wanted. Yes, so this is our Prabhupada. He lives in Krishna. But he has, in order to Yasya Deva Tataguru, serve his spiritual master, left Vrindavan, where he was perfectly satisfied, and gone to the West, associated with people who were so different from him, let's say it like this, to give them Krishna consciousness, because he is the living example of following this verse. Only unto those souls who have implicit faith in both the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are all the imports, the important things, the content of the Vedic scripture automatically revealed. No? He lived that by his example. I will end with one prayer to Prabhupada. I learned this from Indradyumna Maharaj. I offer my obeisances to my spiritual master, who gave me beautiful Kantimala, effulgent tilak, the beautiful form of a devotee. He gave me this life of a devotee, and who offered me his shelter. In one of his hands, he is holding my hand, and with the other hand, he is holding the lamp of knowledge, which helps me to cross over the dark ocean of the material world. Surdas, he's the poem who wrote, says, "My Guru deserves the greatest respect, because only he can rescue one in a blinking of an eye. I bow down to him again and again and again." Srila Prabhupāda ki jai.
Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj ki jai. And now I'd like to call the legendary disciple of Srila Prabhupada, His Grace Sarvabhauma Prabhu, who pleased Prabhupada so many years ago by distributing his books in an exemplary way. The first one on the planet to distribute over 100 big books. And he got a personal letter from Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you. Thank you, Vaish, for making us all feel so comfortable here. And thank you for meeting in such exalted souls as your good self. Thank you so much. I'm simply going to recite Prabhupada's poem that he wrote for his spiritual master and pleased him very much. Okay, so I get stage fright. Yeah. Adore, adore ye all, the happy day, blessed than heaven, sweeter than May. He appeared at Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. O my Master, the evangelic angel, give us thy light. Light up thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope is divine grace. Misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways to turn our face, adore thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusion's toll. Darkness around, all untrace, the only hope is divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a healthful life as Chaitanya wrought, unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. Absolute, this is one of his favorite verse. Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity thou hast moved. Gives us a life anew and fresh, worship thy feet, your divine grace. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold? That's your right, you have the mace. Save us a fallen, your divine grace. The line of service is drawn by you, is pleasing and healthy, like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress, miracle done, your divine grace. Now I have the audacity to add 2 lines. This is not part of his poem. Joyful spirits, we dance and we sing, appreciating matchless gifts that you kindly bring. Causeless mercy of the Lord, freeing all beings in ecstatic accord. A lame man can dance, a dumb man can sing, a blind man can see the heavens within. Our original love, softly say your names, play the whole chord, love beyond shame. Thank you.
Sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Sarvabhauma Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Now we call Her Grace Nirkula Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. It's an honor to be here at Govardhan on this day with all of you. Vanchakalpaturvyasya kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nama Om Shubhadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pucharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vaschacha Desatarne. So, for the few days running up to this day, Srila Prabhupada is really on my mind, and his disappearance and what that's meant to me and the movement and the devotees over the years. And so, and it's hard for me to pull all those thoughts together. So please bear with me. But a few things that came to my mind, and they're somewhat connected to what Maharaj said, and it was Srila Prabhupada's example. In December, I think it was the 13th, 1973, Srila Prabhupada was in LA for his Guru Maharaj's disappearance day. And he gave a lecture, and I was there at the time. And he got very, very emotional. He talked about how he was, as he said, forced to go to meet Srila Prabhupada. Some of his friends talked about a sadhu that they were impressed by. And Srila Prabhupada said, I've seen many sadhus, and I haven't seen a real one yet. And so, I paraphrase that. And so they did talk him into it because, as Srila Prabhupada said, he was considered the leader amongst his friends. And so if they accepted this sadhu, then his friends felt that they could accept him as well. And Srila Prabhupada at that time was very much into the Gandhi movement, nationalism. But he went and he saw Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada in Altadanga Junction Road. And have any of you been there to that place? It's a very holy tirtha. And if ever you're passing through Calcutta on your way to Mayapur, it's not to be missed. We take a youth group once a year, and one of the places we go is Calcutta, and we take them to Srila Prabhupada, the different places where Prabhupada was born, where he worshipped, where he got on the Jaladuta, and Altadanga Junction Road. It's a tongue twister for me. And they have really restored that building beautifully. And you can actually go up on the roof where Srila Prabhupada got the instruction from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And so I definitely recommend it. When we bring the devotees there, the youth group, they all feel much more connected to Srila Prabhupada and his mission after being there. So Prabhupada went, and as he tells the story, he knew to pay obeisances. It was the culture. So he paid his obeisances, and before he got up, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, you are all educated people, men. You can preach this movement in the English-speaking countries. And Prabhupada says in that lecture, I argued with him. So here's Srila Prabhupada going to meet his guru for the first time. He's skeptical, and he argues with him. But he said, I was defeated at every turn. And so it was 1922 that he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And he said he really had a good experience at the Mat, that after they met with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, they were given prasadam, and then he and his friends left. And he said, at that time, I accepted him in my heart as my guru. And it made me think of a couple of things. As I said, he came as a skeptic, he came and he argued, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta defeated all of those, and in such a way that Srila Prabhupada could be open-hearted to it. And he also had a nice experience with the devotees at the Mat. So that whole thing combined to make it that Srila Prabhupada ultimately wanted to be a part of that. So then Srila Prabhupada goes on in the lecture talking about how he came, he took that message. It took many, many years for him to be able to take that message to heart and make it happen, get on the Jaladuta, get a ticket, come to New York. And then he talked about, he got very emotional and he said, all of you, he actually started to cry, all of you have come to assist me. My Guru Maharaj has sent you to assist me. And I was a new devotee. I had just come in February, newly initiated. I was 18. I didn't have a real deep understanding of Krishna consciousness and the relationship of a disciple with the Guru. And when I saw how humble Srila Prabhupada was, thanking us, and so emotional about it, it really it really touched my heart. It really made Srila Prabhupada, in a sense, more approachable for me, because I could see that Krishna consciousness wasn't dry. I already, in a sense, knew that, feasting, dancing, seva, relationships. But when I saw that humbleness of Srila Prabhupada, I was really inspired by that. And so he ended the lecture when he got emotional like that. But the tears that came didn't glide down. They shot from his eyes. And anyone who was close by on the near the Vyasasan could see that. And so, and then the other thing I could relate to with your talk, Maharaj, was Srila Prabhupada would go, sometimes he has a garden in LA, and it's often quite warm there, and so he would take his massage there. And it was Shrutakirti at the time who was his personal servant, and he came. If there's a platform there now where Srila Prabhupada would either sit and greet guests or have his massage, and we could go upstairs. Maharaj is here. We could go upstairs. It used to be the prasadam room. It's something else now, and actually look down. And so I did that once while Prabhupada was there. To my knowledge, I never was seen, but I always felt a little guilty about it. But now I feel like I'm in good company that I did that. So the other things that have been on my mind is the disciples of other gurus who have over the years lost their Guru Maharaj, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and Bhakti Chiru Swami, more recently Kadamba Maharaj, and very recently Gopal Krishna Maharaj. And I think of Gopal Krishna Maharaj a lot on this day, because I oftentimes go back over to Krishna Balaram Mandir to be in Srila Prabhupada's quarters for the evening arti. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj is always there. He does the arti at the foot of Srila Prabhupada's bed, and then he had one of Srila Prabhupada's chatters, and he would put it on our heads. So I'm missing him. I'm missing so many devotees on this day. It makes me think of so many devotees on Prabhupada's disappearance day, because as long as we had them, I felt like we had more of Srila Prabhupada with us. And so I also feel empathy for these devotees who have also, their Guru Maharajas have passed away, and I hope that they are getting the support and guidance and love to help them get through the difficult times of after their Guru Maharaj passes away. Because we were a very young movement at the time that Srila Prabhupada left. And so, there were a lot of mistakes that were made. But we've grown, we've matured, we've become more Krishna conscious. And so hopefully we can help those who are going through that kind of separation now. So on this day, I can't express the deep gratitude in my heart enough for what Srila Prabhupada has given me. I can't imagine what my life would have been today if I wasn't graced by his causeless mercy. I once heard Giriraj Maharaj say that he's a mercy case, and I could really relate to that. I feel like I'm truly a mercy case. So, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Nirkula Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna. And now I'd like to call His Grace Burijan Prabhu, the ever-present Mahant at Govardhan Hill. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivase Sasanyavadi Pasyatya Desatane Om Bhagyanataminandasya Janajana Salakaya Saksasamilatan Zaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Zaina Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Saha Padantikam Vansakalpatubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pabinebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. When I see Prabhupada so high like this, it's inevitable because as Prabhupada's fame grows and people understand more of who he is and what he did, naturally he's elevated higher and higher. But I like to see him a little bit down a bit. Not that he's down, but he did walk on this planet in such an amazing way. And just that's quite personal. And I remember recently someone, because I listened to Prabhupada's lectures and classes and his recordings quite a bit, and somehow when I was speaking to some devotees, I mentioned that I like his early lectures very much. And then one devotee surprised me and asked me why. And I really couldn't answer why. And I've been trying to answer that question and in my own mind, for my own self. And it seems like he was more, in the early days, he was just simply encouraging because we were all so wild. And his philosophy, as he said on more than one occasion in preaching, was that if he saw some little spark, he would fan that spark. So wherever there was a little spark of sincerity in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada would encourage it. And that's perhaps why. Also, in the early days, somehow or another, I've noted that he spoke more directly about Krishna, which is counterintuitive to some degree. But yeah, he spoke about Krishna and the Brijbasis and many things on that level, which he spoke less about later as the devotees grew. And also as the devotees grew in their age in Krishna experience and Krishna consciousness, especially in the last years, he seemed to be very, very strong about what the standard of Krishna consciousness actually was and what it actually meant to become a devotee of Krishna. So he was telling the devotees that, like when a child is young, Even any words he speaks is encouraged, but if he speaks like a baby when he's older, perhaps the parents wouldn't appreciate it so much. So in any case, I appreciated the early lectures and early talks because of those reasons. But recently, I've been really listening to Prabhupada's morning walks, really a lot, and he's so strong on those morning walks, and I've learned to love his calling everyone who isn't a devotee of Krishna. He's calling them a rascal. This one's a rascal and that one's a rascal. I'd like to just give you a few short examples of that, of two favorite ones. One that I've just listened to perhaps yesterday, but let's see if we can make this work.
There was that one notable so-called.
Can you hear?
He supposedly lost all his potency. And he said he gave away all his potency.
He's a rascal. What potency has got? Any rascal who has called himself incarnation of God. There are so many rascals.
Wasn't that Ramakrishna that said he gave away? Wasn't that Ramakrishna said that he gave away everything, he had nothing more?
You are Ramakrishna. Don't talk of this now. Simply, they have misled. That simply you bhajo Krishna and don't think anything else. And you get all your intelligence back. Therefore Krishna says, Mamekam. Don't go to these foolish rascals. Mamekam. Otherwise you will be misled. Because they are misleaders, rascals. You are so very hard. I must be hard. The whole world is spoiled for this Mahabharata. Therefore I am very much hard. I don't say hard. Hard and harsh. Must be harder and harder. Hard and harsh. I don't make any compromise with these rascals. Never. I will never make them. If I don't get any disciple, I will be satisfied. But I cannot make any compromise like these rascals. I cannot make. If I create one moon, that is sufficient. I don't want many stars. That was my Guru Maharaj's principle, and that is my thing. What is the use of having a number of fools and rascals? If one man understands rightly, he can tell you of the whole world.
Krishna is so opulent. Why did he appear in the form of Lord Chaitanya in such a poor village atmosphere?
That is opulent.
So Prabhupada he had a special relationship with Dr. Patel in these Bombay morning walks, and I was hoping that His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj would have been here because he was present on a lot of them, and he would argue with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was sometimes indirectly, sometimes directly, this rascal, that rascal, and he even said to Prabhupada that you're so hard, not only hard, but hard and harsh. And I don't know if you heard it, but Prabhupada said, it will be more hard and harsh. It's very different from the concept of the concept of a sadhu, which I'll talk about. In India, it's shanti, 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 shanti. Prabhupada was really something from a different realm, as Maharaj said. Here's a second one, and this one perhaps could be my favorite. He's not. And I'll explain why after.
Yeah, the material man. If he's this man, he cannot.
Krishna is so opulent.
Why
did he appear in the form of Lord Chaitanya in such a poor village atmosphere?
That is opulent. Yeah, the material man. If he's this man, he cannot become a poor man. That means he's lacking that opulence. He can become the bigger than the biggest and the smaller than the smallest. That is opulence. He cannot manufacture a mosquito. He can manufacture a 747. but manufacture a mosquito. Then we shall know your science. It's the same machine. Otherwise how it is flying? So imperfect you are. So what are the machines there? And you are proud of seeing? Nonsense. See the machine, where it is there? How the mosquito is flying.
One mosquito can produce many mosquitoes.
Yes. Everything is there, complete.
It doesn't crash either.
No. These rascals believing their eyes. What is the meaning of your eyes? You see the steady mosquito. Not only mosquito, you'll find at night I see a small insect, less than the magnitude of full stop. The same machine is there. Now see, what is the machine there? If you have such eyes, what is your answer? In future. Yes. In future they will be.
People say that nature has created such a...
nature is greater than you. Then you are rascal. You have to accept somebody is greater than you. He knows. You do not. Learn from him.
Well, they say that they can control nature.
Again, felicitation. That irritates me. When they speak like that rascal, that irritates me. Therefore, I simply call them rascal. Avavaktasya muto puto mahatu. They are claiming very, very big man. But as soon as we see that he is not a devotee of Krishna, we reject. Then he is a foolish. That's a fact.
Prabhupada goes on to tell a story about a judge who is sleeping while the lawyers were arguing the case, and he was sleeping, and they were big lawyers. And then the person, his clerk, said, "Excuse me, Your Honor, you're sleeping," and they're still arguing. He said, so Prabhupada says, "Yes, I've already made up my mind. Let these rascals keep talking." But that's not what really caught me about this. When I heard Prabhupada say, "This really irritates me," they say they can control nature, and Prabhupada said, "That really irritates me." When I heard that, I remembered that Prabhupada is not a religious fanatic, because religious fanatics can also say everyone who disagrees with them is a rascal, or may even kill them, or who knows what. But Prabhupada was something quite different. And the reason he was so strong on this, I will illustrate by perhaps a little purport at the end of a story that I personally was there for, which I've told many, many times. But from Hong Kong, Prabhupada went to Kobe. First went to Japan and then Kobe. And there was a program that was arranged in Kobe by Sudama Prabhu, where Prabhupada would be speaking to the large Sindhi community, but somehow or another they put on the same program a Mayavadi sannyasi speaking. So I already understood this was going to be something exceptional, extraordinary. Quite a drama is going to take place, and indeed I was right. And it was the program was in a hall, and it was, and these souls there were mostly Sindhi cloth merchants who very much in sin they have a relationship with the Sikhs and worshipping the Guru Granth Sahib, their book of the Sikhs. And so they had a Vyasasana there, an asana. Whoever was reading the Guru Granth would sit on this asana. So I had the assignment, so to speak, of trying to explain to the organizer of this program that Prabhupada should sit on that Vyasasana. He was so senior, he had done so much. So we convinced him to allow Prabhupada to sit on the Vyasasana, on that Guru Granth Asana. And Prabhupada sat there. And the Mayavadi sannyasi, there were a lot more people than are sitting here right now. Maybe, I imagine there was 400, and if I was to exaggerate, there was 10,000 or something, but it was about 300-400. And Prabhupada, of course, there were about 8 or 9 of his students there, and he had us have kirtan, recite some verses, and then he spoke in English, and of course, what did he speak about or against? With the Mayavadi sannyasi sitting on a chair in the back, he spoke completely against Mayavad philosophy. And he spoke for 10 minutes, 15 minutes in English, and the Mayavadi sannyasi with his beard and saffron cloth, he couldn't understand any English. But everyone else did. And Prabhupada spoke for maybe a half hour, 30 minutes, maybe perhaps 40 minutes, and then it was time he ended his class, and the Mayavadi sannyasi, with the hand of the organizer, he brought the Mayavadi sannyasi up and put up his hand to help Prabhupada come down from the Vyasasana, so the Mayavadi sannyasi could sit there, and Prabhupada refused to get down. I mean, he was very unique in this. He was so fixed in something. He refused to get down. And the organizer had promised that if everything goes well, he'll organize us getting a temple here. And Prabhupada still wouldn't flatter anyone, and he wouldn't get down. And so, of course, the Mayavadi sannyasi had to go, Shanti, it's okay, Shanti, Shanti. So they brought him back to the seat. They brought the microphone over to him, and he began speaking in Hindi. And Prabhupada just sat on the Vyasasana with his hands in his bead bags, and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. And we, following him, because it was Hindi, and none of us spoke Hindi, so we just sat in front of Prabhupada, and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And then he spoke for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and Prabhupada just sat there. And there were 300, maybe 10,000 people in the audience. Actually, again, it was 300, 400, 500 perhaps. And Prabhupada was just chanting, and we were sitting in front of Prabhupada just chanting, just watching him and how he was reacting to the talk of the Mayavadi sannyasi. He was gaining strength, the Mayavadi sannyasi. And after a half hour, he was talking. And suddenly Prabhupada looked at me, actually, and he said, "Stop him." If we weren't recording what was going on, I'd say what flashed through my mind at that time, but since we are recording it, we were young and a little fanatical too. Not too, but we were fanatical. And then Prabhupada saved the circumstances by saying, "Start kirtan." So the Mayavadi sannyasi is speaking at the summit of his talk, so excited, and everyone is listening to him. We jumped up and started chanting kartals, madanga, and in front of everyone. And he in his Shanti Shanti way, he sort of ended his talk. And then we helped Prabhupada get down from the Vyasasana. The program was over. And we stayed around to distribute books, but not many of the people there wanted any of the books. So Prabhupada went back to the apartment where he was staying, and his Banu, who's now Banu Swami, was taking care of him. And we finished what we had to do, and we ran up the stairs, and we went into Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada was drinking hot milk, and there was, I remember it quite clearly, there was a lamp shining on him, and he looked so pleased with himself. And I thought he's like a cat who has just caught a mouse. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that, but he was like purring almost. He was so happy, and we came in and we said, Prabhupada, what happened? What happened? Because he was speaking in Hindi and we couldn't understand anything, and suddenly after you listened for a half hour, and suddenly you said, stop him. What happened? And he said, in a very unfanatical way, first he was preaching all right. But then he was talking Panchupasana, Prabhupada said, and we asked what that was, and because we didn't know, 5 different gradations of demigods, ending with Vishnu. And then, so Prabhupada explained that to us. That His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, I should play that recording again with Prabhupada talking to Mr. Patel. Do you remember, were you on that walk where Prabhupada, he said, Mr. Patel, Dr. Patel said, you are hard, but not only hard, you are hard and harsh. Do you remember that one? No. And then Prabhupada just got more insistent. I must be more hard and harsh because these Mayavadis have ruined everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. It sounds like
So I was just at the end of a story in Kobe, Japan, where you weren't present, but Prabhupada had just, in the middle of a Mayavadi sannyasi's lecture, he had told us to stop him. Yes. So we were trying to understand what had happened. He had listened to him for a half hour, and then suddenly he said, stop him. So Prabhupada explained that he was preaching Panchupasana, about 5 different gradations of demigods, and he explained to us that was. But then, Prabhupada explained, then he said beyond Vishnu was Brahman. And Prabhupada then said, when he said that, I could not tolerate it. It was like someone insulting the love of your life by saying they were ugly and had no personality and no legs and no arm and no face. It was completely personal. It wasn't religious fanaticism. It was speaking, as Satchidananda Maharaj said, from a person who was in Braj, who always was in Braj, who carried Vrindavan with him wherever he went. And he would not tolerate the insult to Krishna. And that was the secret, in one sense, as of course it was what Maharaj said also, Yasya Devi Parabhaktiya, but that was the secret of his preaching success. That he was carrying Krishna. And when you were in his presence, you felt, of course we didn't know Krishna, but after having walked on some altars where Radha Kalachandji and so many and other deities were present, or having stepped on the dust of Vrindavan the same atmosphere, that same atmosphere was what Prabhupada always carried with him. And in his presence, you wanted more and more and more of that special Vrindavan intensity and sweetness. And from that platform, Prabhupada said, they are such rascals, these impersonalists, these Mayavadis. Not that we can imitate, but he was speaking from such a deep and realized personal platform. And therefore, I've learned to appreciate Prabhupada's great, uncompromising heroism. And he's such a hero for us all. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
I'd like to invite Urmila Devi to please come up. After you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nivasesa Sanyavani Paskajade Satarani. So I think one of the items of Krishna consciousness that has always intrigued me and bewildered me, and to a large extent I felt eluded me, was this concept of humility. I like what Burjan Prabhu said the other day at Govardhan Puja, when someone asked, right, how do I become humble? And you said, just be patient. It will be put upon you. And again, it's something I've looked at very deeply. It's interesting to be here. This place is so intimately connected with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I remember his last Vyasa Puja. He glorified the gurus of everybody who was in attendance at his Vyasa Puja. And one of the things he said when talking about Radhanath Swami, he said, I will never be humble like Radhanath Swami is humble. And that also really struck me. And I have done a lot of study, especially with the point in Brihad Bhagavatamrita when Gopakumar gets to Dwarka and he's discussing with Uddhava and Narada, and they tell him, you can't go to Vrindavan if you don't have humility. That without humility you cannot have prema. They go hand in hand. And if you just stay here in Dwarka, you'll be too happy. You have to go to Vrindavan in separation to experience humility. So studying these different things, I came up with like different formulas. What is humility? And to try to practice that. But just yesterday, I listened to, you're talking about listening to morning walks. I was thinking I should, when I finish this series of lectures, I should go to the morning walks. I listen to Prabhupada's lectures pretty much every day. And he was talking about, as he talks about all the time, how important it is to follow Guru, how important it is to repeat what Krishna and Guru have said, not to concoct anything. And he said, this is Trinadapi. And it was a whole, although it's interesting, of course, I've listened to Srila Prabhupada's lectures far more times than I can count. The first time I listened to them was as he was recording them and as they were being sent out. And it's always interesting with Prabhupada's lectures and with Prabhupada's books, how there's always something fresh and there's always something new. But it really struck me that at least one aspect, I don't think it's the whole kit and caboodle, but one aspect of humility is that you don't concoct anything. You don't present yourself as an independent authority. I've been dealing lately with one person infiltrating our movement who's doing exactly that. And I was just deeply thinking about this. How Srila Prabhupada, you talked about how, people wouldn't see that as a humble thing to do, not to get off the seat, to interrupt someone's speech with a kirtan. You'd look at that and you'd say, well, that wasn't very humble. But Prabhupada's humility was that he didn't change anything. He didn't concoct anything. He's acting as a transparent via media. Of course, we think, if I bring something new, then I'll become glorified. Then everybody will notice me. I'll make some new contribution. One of the things, the requirement for getting a PhD is you have to learn something and write about something, research something that no one else has done. You have to get a piece of knowledge no one else has done. So I should now inform you, I am now the world's leading expert in the job satisfaction of all of the teachers in all of the Hare Krishna schools in the world in the fall of 2005. And it's that idea, you take something, you contribute something new that wasn't part of human knowledge. But Srila Prabhupada had this joy in being a humble servant. We are so also thinking about Tamal Krishna as when Prabhupada said, there's so many universes and there's so many planets, and then on this earth there's so many cities, and here in Los Angeles there's so many people, and yet here's Tamal Krishna Maharaj who thinks he's very important. And our importance is that Krishna shines through us, that we also act as transparent via medium. And Krishna shines through us if we're faithful to Guru, to Guru, to Guru, to Guru, that Krishna is shining through all of us. And I tell this story a lot, so for many of you it's going to be an old story. But the first time I was in Prabhupada's presence, I was fanning him. I would have been on that side, like right where you're sitting. And I was standing up fanning him. I was 19. And I was fanning him through the whole lecture. And I had wanted some mystical experience meeting Prabhupada for the first time. I was hoping for some, fireworks or something. I'm not sure what I was expecting. And my experience was that standing right by Prabhupada and listening to him speak was an identical experience on the subjective level as listening to him on a recording. And that gave me a lot of joy and a lot of hope. I realized that even though I hadn't met Prabhupada before that time, I had been associating with him through his recordings. Also through his books, but my realization at that time was his recordings, and that even after Prabhupada would leave physically, I would still be associating with him through his recordings. But I still wanted something more personal, and later that morning, my father, my husband, and I got to meet with Srila Prabhupada, and we had some exchange with, I'm not going to tell you the whole exchange, but afterwards, my father looked at me and said, now I know why you've come. This is a genuine holy man. And I've thought long and hard. We talked to Prabhupada maybe a half an hour. What would have inspired my father like that in such a short time? Later, my father became a life member of the Hare Krishna movement. And the main thing I could come up with was Prabhupada's authenticity. He was never trying to impress anybody. It was almost childlike. You know, like little children, 1-2-year-old children, they don't have masks. You understand? They don't have pretenses. They are who they are. And Prabhupada wasn't trying to impress people with his own, understanding and intelligence and creativity. He was just taking this joy in being a conduit for Guru and Krishna. He would say, if I've done any wonderful thing, it's that I have faith in the holy name, I have faith in my Guru Maharaj. In this world, we're all trying to be important. I remember Burjan Prabhu one time, you were giving a class, which I repeat this all the time, where you said our whole lifetime is 8 billionths of a second for Lord Brahma. It's absurd. It's really absurd. You can build a huge building, you can go to outer space, you can make $1 billion, you can write 1 billion books, you can do so much, and it's just gone. Yeah, like Revati's father, he goes to see Lord Brahma, it's all gone. But we have significance in being insignificant. We have joy in being insignificant. It's such a relief that we are insignificant, but our significance is our faithfulness. Although we're so tiny that it's practically immeasurable how tiny we are. We're a speck on 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 a speck. Our ability materially to make any impression in anything it doesn't exist. But if we are faithful and we actually are a conduit and we joyfully accept that humility, then that becomes our significance. And then we have a real effect. How much effect has Srila Prabhupada had? I'm staying down the street, and you look around, and there's people from all over the world chanting Hare Krishna. You go, I'm not going this trip, please, Krishna, I don't want to go this trip, into Loy Bazaar. But when I have been into Loy Bazaar, my daughter just wrote me, are you going into Loy Bazaar? And I'm like, capital, no. But when I've been there, you hear every language of the world. Yes? Every language of the world. You're going to hear Cambodian. You're going to hear Polish. You're going to hear Swahili. Not just Russian and English, and not just Tamil, you're going to hear every language of the world. Who did that? A lot of the effects we see in the world, even a lot of environmental consciousness, a lot of people moving towards animal rights. Where did that come from? All the books, all the prasadam, all the kirtans. Although Prabhupada is a jiva, still, because he's a conduit, because he's transparent, he's able to have this huge significant effect that has ripples into eternity. So embracing this humility is such joyfulness. All of our anxiety comes from trying to be important on a material level. It's all false. And I'd like to end with something I usually talk about on this day because it's very personal for me, but maybe it will also be helpful for you. So when, on the day that Prabhupada gave me the Gayatri mantras, and any of you who've read our Shastric Advisory Council paper on the Brahma Gayatri, these mantras and Satchidananda Maharaj's book, of course, These mantras are very deep and wonderful and amazing, these gifts that we've been given. Anyway, the day that Prabhupada gave me these mantras, my father became a life member. At the same time, we were, this was in Philadelphia, we were sitting in Prabhupada's room. This was my father, my husband, by this time our firstborn son, and myself. And my father brought Prabhupada a big gift basket of fruits. I saw that the other day, this cellophane-wrapped fruits, you know. Prabhupada said, oh, so many fruits. And he gave Prabhupada personally the life membership check, which was very auspicious but a little inconvenient because then none of the temples had gotten the money, and so none of the temples wanted to give him the books. And they said, we didn't get them. It took like 6 months to get him the books. But anyway, as we were offering we had a nice conversation then as well, but as we were offering obeisances and leaving, Prabhupada said, good father, good daughter. So I'm very blessed in this life that I had a very good father, mother, especially my father, in every way, materially, spiritually even. But my real father also is, without any disrespect to my earthly father, wherever he is. I'm sure he's in a wonderful place. But Srila Prabhupada is my real father. And I certainly have the best father. I am not yet the best daughter. But I'm asking all of you to please bless me that Prabhupada's saying good father, good daughter also applies to Prabhupada as my father and myself as his daughter. And if maybe someday I can really enter this trinadapi of really being, I'm never going to be very humble in this life on the external, superficial behaviors. That's not going to happen with my personality. No, don't expect that will ever manifest. But at least as far as being a conduit for my spiritual master and for Krishna, if you could please bless me that I can always have that faithfulness. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Her Grace Urmila Devi Ki Jai. Now we call Divyanga Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. If you'd like to stand up for a moment, everyone stand up and stretch. Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Prabhus, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharajas, so nice to be in your presence. Thank you, Asit Krishna Maharaj, for maintaining this amazing oasis and letting me to come here again, which was a surprise. Some devotees sponsored me so I could come, and it's been 5 years and here I am. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for all you do for me. I can almost talk. Drank a lot of tea and a lot of ginger. I wanted to take a minute to appreciate all of the Vaishnavas, from all the exalted, saintly ones that we all know and are famous, to all the other amazing Vaishnavas who have taken Prabhupada's instruction and they're living it in their lives. The couple that sponsored me are, you might know Shankar Shanita. He does a lot of the translating for the Russian classes. And we do Zoom classes because they love Sankirtan, and they, in fact, in their town, wherever they are, they make sweets and they go on Harinam and they distribute books. So they always call me and say, please, let's do another Zoom and talk about Sankirtan. And every time when the class is over, they say, please, Prabhu, let us sponsor your ticket to come back to the Dham. And I always say, you don't have any money, you got 3 kids, and you can't afford it, but I appreciate the love. Anyway, so Anangamanjari did a fundraiser for me. And then he called me and he said, we're sending you this money. Now, what's your excuse? So I came because Krishna's so kind, he let me come here. And I've been trying to be a good disciple for 50 years, and when I joined the Travel and Sankirtan party, Ragendra told me that if you want to make spiritual advancement, you please the spiritual master. And he said, if you want to please Srila Prabhupada, you preach. Like Vaishnavi says, chant Hare Krishna and share it with others. So that's what we do. And in order to preach Krishna consciousness, you have to practice Krishna consciousness. The amazing thing with Srila Prabhupada's book distribution is that even if you are not, you don't have to be that learned or a scholar, but you have to be sincere and serious. Serious means that you know what to do and you practice, and sincere means you do it even when nobody's looking. And I like to take that with me when I go out on Sankirtan, which I do 5 days a week. And somehow or other, whoever gets near me is going to get a book, monster card, and some prasadam. And I like to boil it down to the individuals, because there's over 7 billion people on this planet. And I like to look at it like it's doable. And I look at each person that I approach and I think, that could be me. If it wasn't for the devotees that gave me the books first, this person here who's just going to the grocery store to buy meat and stuff, that could be me. So I feel I have an obligation to try to help them. And that's been my mood as Prabhupada devotee. And I loved what you said about your association. I found this yesterday, it just popped up, somebody posted it. Prabhupada said, who is our enemy? The devotee. Prabhupada, what is the devotee's greatest enemy? Prabhupada, he himself, because he's a rascal. He is his own greatest enemy. So just to get out of this rascaldom, and you become your friend, nobody is enemy. So if we apply what Prabhupada has given us sincerely, then we can actually share it with others and help them in their spiritual progress. And I find it's the most gratifying thing for me to do is to share Krishna with others. And the more I do it, the more I feel close to Srila Prabhupada. And although most of the people that I give books to, I never see them again. We used to stand in airports and distribute books, and you'd give someone a book and they'd fly away and you'd never see them again. And that's pretty much the way it is now. I go out and I distribute books, and I don't see those people again, but I'm sure that anybody who associates with Srila Prabhupada through his books gets his mercy. And I could walk up to you and hand you a book and fall down dead, and it wouldn't matter because you have the book, and in the book is Srila Prabhupada. And all you have to do is associate with the pure devotee, and you can actually make spiritual progress. Here's another one that I really liked. Prabhupada says, I'm very much pleased by your attitude to surrender yourself by engaging cent per cent in Krishna's service. Somehow or other, always be thinking about Krishna. That is the goal of the Krishna conscious process. So now, please help me to spread this information all over this earth planet especially by helping to distribute my books and literatures, as many as possible. And then you will get the credit. Know for certain that very soon you will go back home, back to Godhead. And then he says, don't think that simply our books are meant for selling. No, it is meant for reading also. If we read regularly, at least 2-3 hours, that is tapasya, tapo divyam. And that's what we do here. Vaishnavi says, we have an opportunity here to just read Bhagavatam, and nobody can stop us. And if we do that, we'll cleanse our hearts, and everyone else's too, who hears it. And I find that in my life, devotees ask me a lot of times, how do you do this? Why do you do this? How do you stay inspired? And I tell them that I practice it. I get up early and I go to the temple and I engage in the morning program and I chant my japa. And then I go out and I distribute it as much as I possibly can to anybody that gets anywhere within my reach. And if I dedicate myself like that, time goes by pretty quickly, actually, and I don't have time to, be dragged down by the modern stuff, politics, and everything else that's going on, because I've committed myself to being a book distributor for the rest of my life. And I know that I have experience distributing books when I'm in good consciousness, and I have experience when I'm not in very good consciousness. And you can still do it. And people still get books, and they still get the mercy. But it's different. If you're in Maya and distributing books, people are getting books. But if you're in spiritual consciousness and doing it, it's amazing. It's really it's some kind of special blessing. I didn't ask for the job. I just joined that Sankirtan van, and they told me this is what we do. And it made sense to me because I felt the pains of this material world. And when I met the devotees, they could answer my questions. I had a lot of questions in that van. I asked them all kinds of stuff. And everything that I asked, they answered, mostly from the Bhagavad Gita. But my revelation was that here's something that's practical that helps me and will help anybody else who's fortunate enough to take it. So on these occasions, I usually say, please forgive me, please save me. And I look forward to a day where I can look at Srila Prabhupada and I don't have to say, please forgive me, please forgive me, please forgive me, because I actually did it. I did the right thing. And it hasn't been easy for me. It's been a struggle my entire time. I feel really good, though, when I'm in good association. It's so much easier to be with devotees that, especially Vaishnir and my dear friends that are willing to drag me along. And when I got sick a couple nights ago, Hovey came over, and Hovey has become my doctor. Thank you, Hovey. I get by with a little help from my friends. Everybody has been very, very kind because they're in good consciousness. There's another one here that you guys will like. Always remember, our first business is preaching and distributing literature. Never mind, we have to live underneath a tree. That was a letter to Narottam in 72. Do not be depressed. In my absence, you read the books. What I talk, I have written in my books. You can associate with me by reading my books. So I have experience with that. When I pay attention and when I read Srila Prabhupada's books, I feel peaceful and happy, and I feel inspired to share it with others. In fact, I have this thing where I just can't not give people books. Whatever I'm doing, I bring books with me. If I go into the store to buy boga, I put books in my pockets, and anybody that will take one, I give them to them. And I tell them the same thing every time. They say, what is this? I say, it's a book. It's a new invention. You'll read them and learn stuff. And the subject matter is inner peace and higher consciousness through yoga and meditation, and how to realize our true potential in life. And people like to hear that, especially lately. These last 10 years, people are more stressed out than I've ever seen it, because that's one of my mantras. These books, they teach you how to get free from stress. And when I say that to people, they say, oh, I need 2 of these books. And people, they live with this stress every day. It's not, I mean, it just makes life so much harder. We could be free, we could be happy, we could do all kinds of things, but we're so held down by our own false ego that keeps us in frustrated consciousness. Prabhupada said here, just like a rope comes down the well, so anyone may catch that rope from any position, he is sure to be delivered. So our aim should be not give up the rope. We must capture the rope very tightly, then our deliverance is assured. So far as I'm concerned, in relationship with my disciples who are so kindly cooperating with me in the matter of rendering this service to my spiritual master, for them, I'm always ready to come back from Goloka Vrindavan if they are not delivered along with me. So don't be worried about the clutches of Maya. Be fixed in your determination and go on serving the Supreme Lord Krishna with determination, as you are already doing. So like I said before, we know what the process is. And whatever you do in your, I mean, wherever, whatever, whoever, if you just apply Krishna consciousness in your life, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, means all the time, at least daily. And I find with myself, my ups and downs, if I just apply myself, when I pull out the Bhagavad Gita and say I'm doing my chapter, nothing bothers me. And then I do whatever else I have, because I make myself do it, because even though I love reading Prabhupada's books, it's not always my first thought. But when I make myself do it, I feel Krishna's like, see, that wasn't so bad, was it? It's forced meditation, Prabhupada said. In this age, meditation is impossible. But to sit down and chant japa, that is forced meditation, because you hear the mantra. So on this amazing day, bittersweet as it is, I'm so happy that I'm still allowed to be on the Sankirtan party, and I have this huge, huge family of ISKCON that I can take shelter of. And I do. I talk with my friends all the time in Alachua. I was just with Mahatma. Mahatma's 74. And he went to the doctor and they said, uh-oh, you have blockage. We have to operate. So he went in for the heart surgery. You know how that is. And when the surgery was successful, they were wheeling him back to the recovery room. And the little lights are going beep, beep, beep. And the doctor goes, whoops, we did something wrong. He's hemorrhaging. So they had to wheel him right back in and do it again. So, and it was successful. Thank you, Krishna. So Janava called me, Mahatma's wife, and she said, Prabhu, he can't speak, but he can hear. And he's laying there and he wants to talk to you and Vaish. And he wants you to call him and tell him some Sankirtan stories. So Vaish calls him up, and she's holding the phone. He's there in the hospital, and Vaish starts telling him Mahatma's Sankirtan stories, which I thought was hilarious, and so did he. The most amazing thing was, because after laying there, and he was already thin, but he looked like, I mean, his eyes were so sunken in and he was just laying there. But when he saw me, he smiled. And I brought him a pavitra that Vaish and Nir had given Radhi to give me. And I said, I brought you this pavitra. It's not ordinary. This has been worn by Vaish. And he just grabbed it and said, Om Shrom Namaha, put it on. I gave him a garland. I gave him some, maha and some charnamrita from the temple that morning. And he lit up. I was there for maybe an hour. Then the next day when I went back, he was out of the bed, sitting in a wheelchair. And he said, Div, you want to take a walk? because they want you to move around. So, I got to wheel him around the floor. And when I was wheeling him around the floor, he started telling me his realizations. And he said, Prabhu, I love you. I love your service. I love your attitude. And he said, you know what? I've been noticing that about all the devotees. Yadavar said, maybe we should all have heart surgery. Because we have a tendency to, we have so many tendencies, but I know personally we overlook a lot of things and we're insensitive. But Mahatma's mood right now is, I love you and let me glorify you. That's the new mood. And 3 days after he got in the wheelchair, they sent him home. He was doing so well. So I was bringing prasadam to the house, and I would usually bring him, about 8:30, 9 in the morning, and I'd look around, and it seemed really quiet, and I didn't want to bug him. I thought maybe if he was resting. And the third day I went over, I hear the piano. I'm like, dude's in there jamming, so I go in. I'm like, Prabhu, you're all better. And he goes, Div, I wrote a song. Sit down. So I sit there and he says, the name of the song is Shikshastakam. And he starts playing this beautiful melody and he's singing these words that he made up about Shikshastakam. And it goes on about 15 minutes. And then he goes, I haven't finished it yet, but I'm on it. Because I had told him in the hospital, I said, you got to get better, because we need you to come back to the temple and lead kirtan. And we really do. I mean, it's amazing when Mahatma leads kirtan. Everybody loves it. And I was thinking, he's a few years older than me, but that's never going to happen to me. I'm never going to have heart surgery and almost die. But after talking to him for a while, I just felt so fortunate to know him. And that's the way I feel about every devotee here and wherever they are. Devotees are so rare and they're so amazing that if you just get near them, you'll get Krishna. So my advice is get near him, get as close as you can to him, and don't go away. Thank you very much, Prabhus. Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai.
His Grace Divyanga Prabhu Ki. They call His Grace Bhanabhata Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Umagyantimanandasya Granjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my eternal spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya, Asatara Sarishi Shimara Divine Grace, Śrīla A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Prabhupada has forced my eyes open with the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore, I offer my most humble, respectful obeisance under his lotus feet. I feel really dwarfed here in the association of so many saintly devotees, especially Giriraj Maharaj and some of those swamis. I don't know why they asked me to speak so soon. I'd much rather actually, I'd much rather hear from them. But I'm going to have to read something because I have a little bit of short-term memory loss, and it's hard if I don't do that. Dear Srila Prabhupada, on this most auspicious day of your transcendental departure from this world to our mundane vision 47 years ago, I'm left trying to count all the incredible gifts that you have given to so many of us fortunate conditioned souls, including myself, who have been rotting in this material world since time immemorial, but by some stroke of unimaginable good fortune, we've been able to achieve your causeless mercy. What could we have ever done in previous lifetimes to be offered this inconceivable good fortune? And what can we do to repay your infinite kindness upon us? Srila Prabhupada, how can I, just a tiny, insignificant creature, overwhelmed by the modes of passion and ignorance, and infused with a causeless unwillingness to surrender to the Supreme Lord, begin to understand and conceive of the transcendental nature of your activities? I live in New Vrindavan now, and one of my main services there is to give tours at Prabhupada's palace, and it seems to be one of the most incredible services that I can imagine, because every day, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times a day, I'm able to talk about Srila Prabhupada and how he came to America. And every time I do that, it deepens my incomprehension as to how it was at all possible. And I'm going to mention these things, we've all heard over and over again, but it's just so inconceivable. I'm still trying to understand it. And so Prabhupada came in 1965 on the instruction of his spiritual master, 70 years old, on a cargo ship. It took him over a month across the Atlantic Ocean. And to attempt to do something nobody in history had ever done before. Because even people like Jesus and Muhammad, so many saints, even in India, Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Shankara, but they all did them among their own people. Prabhupada actually was attempting to transplant an ancient spiritual culture from India to a completely foreign land, something nobody hardly even dreamt about. And he came with no money, no friends, except a couple cases of Bhagavatams that he had with him. Of course, suffered 2 heart attacks, and within 12 years initiated over 5,000 of the most fallen, unqualified Western barbarians, fully addicted to the horrible habits of meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, speculation of all sorts. Probably before I joined this movement, I didn't even know if God existed. Look at me now. It's inconceivable. How did that happen? Who else could have accomplished that? Srila Prabhupada, how amazing are you? Not only that, but you established and managed over 100 temples all over the world. I know there's a lot of kind of study of management systems now in modern day. Prabhupada never went to management school. He also, when he was a Grihasta, managed Dr. Bose's all kind of pharmaceutical places. And he wrote over 70 books, translated in 87 different languages, distributing millions of copies of them everywhere through his disciples, established Rath Yatra in major cities worldwide. What to speak of distributing millions upon millions of plates of pure Krishna prasadam. So much of that done through his disciples. And I'm still completely bewildered as to how it was humanly possible for Prabhupada to do this. I think scholars, historians, to this day must still be scratching their heads. It is humanly impossible, even a fraction of what Prabhupada did. Prabhupada told us many times, he said, Krishna is so amazing. He's Yogeshwara. He's a supreme mystic, and he does everything so wonderfully, and that he leaves everyone bewildered. And no one can figure out how he did anything. And because Prabhupada had nothing materially but firm faith in the order of his spiritual master and in the holy name of Krishna, then he accomplished what nobody in human history of this planet has ever done before. And the amazing thing is that he continues to do that through his Vani, through his instructions, and through his devotional ecstasies, in his Bhaktivedanta purports, and through his, all of you, his pure followers all over the world, and continuing to capture the hearts and minds of so many suffering souls in this way, in this world, awakening them to pure Krishna consciousness within their hearts. So, Srila Prabhupada, please give me the shelter under your lotus feet. Give me the association of your devotees who want to stay completely absorbed in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and help me awaken and maintain a humble service attitude within my heart towards all living entities. Please grant me fearlessness and the impossible determination you possess. And if you so desire, empower me to become the servant of your pure servants in your mission, the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to deliver the other less fortunate souls rotting in this world on the path back home, back to Godhead. And because we sing every morning, our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from your lotus mouth. I'd like to end by reading an excerpt from Srila Prabhupada's famous 1936 Vyas Puja offering to his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, where Srila Prabhupada states, personally, Prabhupada says, I have no hope. I think this is called something like Dainya. He says, I have no hope for any direct service for the coming crores of birth of the sojourn of my life, but I'm confident that some day or other I should be delivered from this mire of delusion at which I am so, at present, so deeply sunk. Therefore, let me, with all my earnestness, pray at the lotus feet of my Divine Master to allow me to suffer the lot for which I am destined due to my past misdoings, but to let me have this power of recollection, that I am nothing but a tiny servant of the Almighty, Absolute Godhead. Sorry, realized through the unflinching mercy of my Divine Master. Let me therefore bow down at his lotus feet with all the humility at my command. And Srila Prabhupada, in conclusion, I want you to please bless all the devotees in the Bhaktivedanta ashram situated here at the foot of Sri Giri Govardhan, especially His Holiness Asit Krishna Maharaj, Devarata Prabhu. And all the other wonderful devotees who have allowed us to stay here at this most auspicious time of Kartik and become completely immersed in the extensive hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam with His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. And we feel incredibly fortunate to be here, and I will remain indebted to you for your kindness and tolerance. Your in significant servant, Panavati Das.
No, go. We welcome His Grace Damodar Vamsidhari Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much. I wrote this offering for Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Respected Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most respectful pranams at your lotus feet, which are the only shelter and hope for me. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I am very happy to get an opportunity to write my offering to you on your Vyas Puja celebration, and then now at your disappearance day. I'll be spontaneous as I have been asked to make it short. 3 weeks back, my father passed away on the first day of Kartik, and I very clearly remember every milliseconds of what was happening around. It was Srila Prabhupada voice chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then, whatever happened was so mystical, and it just happened one after the other. And, the strength or the information of what to do and all automatically seems to be coming together. And, what I realized was I was trying to analyze as to where this information of how to deal with situation like someone leaving the body and how to process it comes when the modern society does not wants to talk any of those things. And it was just one figure came in my mind, and it was you, Srila Prabhupada. And I was able to, we have been able to learn so many things from Srila Prabhupada. And my observation was also that it's not just the devotees who are in ISKCON. I have seen people who just get introduced to the Mahamantra, and I have seen personally some attending someone or someone getting a blood work done, and when the nurse is taking the blood out, immediately they'll go into Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And when you observe all these things, 60 years back, what was the solace point for these souls to connect to Krishna? Srila Prabhupada had made all these connections so easy for the world. And, everything which is there, Srila Prabhupada taught us, and it is up to us to absorb and to expand. I think that's what Srila Prabhupada expects from generations from us, to pick up what Srila Prabhupada left by himself, but also expanded by what these generations are given to us. And then we have to pick it up and then expand it million times more. So that's the responsibility. And good part is everything is expanding in Krishna consciousness right now. Let's evaluate. Yeah, the number of books getting distributed every year, we are breaking the records year by year. The number of languages books are getting translated and distributed is going hockey stick, correct? So if there was a corporate strategy, we can put it up. The number of products, the kind of distribution is amazing. Even the number of Srimad Bhagavatam sets, which now the world is distributing thanks to Bhadra campaign and other innovations. We have witnessed as a child, we actually grew up in ISV, and we've seen Prabhu teaching us with everything, and we have seen the witness and the growth of Bhadra Purnima. We have seen the celebration of Divine Disappearance Day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where such a tiny community of around 40 devotees, and Prabhu pushed us to have engaged 1,008 devotees in book distribution way back in 28, 26, and every time such kind of push we have seen, have expanded the movement. The number of, here also, Asit Krishna Maharaj Prabhu, Maharaj, the space will get smaller very soon, because the number of devotees coming for glorifying Srila Prabhupada will keep on increasing. We will look at Maharaj, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, 11,000 devotees in Mayapur. The Anandambudhi Vardhanam manifestation, if you have to just see and observe, every number is increasing for Srila Prabhupada. The number of properties, even, small things, people say, oh, cow protection and all. I've observed each temple have at least 4 to 5 initiatives on cow protection going on. All aspects of what Srila Prabhupada wanted is growing. What it comes with that growth is responsibility to manage that growth. And we have to continue our strict, serious sadhana, along with our faithfulness and loyalty to Srila Prabhupada, and then coming up together, organizing ourselves, managing rightly, and delivering it for Srila Prabhupada. I request your blessings and cooperation, so we all come together, glorify Srila Prabhupada more and more, and engage everyone which are walking here. They should have a book very soon. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vaisesika Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Grace Damodar Vamsidhari Prabhu Ki. And now it's our great pleasure and honor to invite His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj to please come and speak. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, my dear devotees. It is a great honor and pleasure and a privilege for me to be with all of you on this auspicious occasion in this holy place. I was with Srila Prabhupada when he left this world. And after his departure, I was looking for solace and guidance. And I fortunately found it in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Srila Prabhupada discusses the very topic of the departure of the spiritual master. And what I read was extremely instructive and enlightening and encouraging. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28. Puranjan becomes a woman in his next life. Text 47. Translation. Being now alone and a widow in that forest, the daughter of Vidarbha began to lament, incessantly shedding tears, which soaked her breasts, and crying very loudly. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Figuratively, the queen is supposed to be the disciple of the king. Thus, when the mortal body of the spiritual master expires, his disciples should cry exactly as the queen cries when the king leaves his body. So I was crying at that time, and I wasn't sure whether it was right or not, but when I read this, I felt reassured. However, the disciple and spiritual master are never separated, because the spiritual master always keeps company with the disciple as long as the disciple follows strictly the instructions of the spiritual master. This is called the association of vani, words. Physical presence is called vapu. As long as the spiritual master is physically present, the disciple should serve the physical body of the spiritual master. And when the spiritual master is no longer physically existing, the disciple should serve the instructions of the spiritual master. This was also encouraging and enlightening, how we can maintain our connection with the spiritual master. In this case, with Srila Prabhupada after he left, by serving his instructions. Text 48. O best of kings, please get up, get up. Just see this world surrounded by water and infested with rogues and so-called kings. This world is very much afraid, and it is your duty to protect her. Purport. Whenever an acharya comes, following the superior orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his representative, he establishes the principles of religion as enunciated in Bhagavad Gita. Religion means abiding by the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Religious principles begin from the time one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the Acharya's duty to spread a bona fide religious system and induce everyone to bow down before the Supreme Lord. One executes the religious principles by rendering devotional service, specifically the 9 items, such as hearing, chanting, and remembering. Unfortunately, when the Acharya disappears, rogues and non-devotees take advantage and immediately begin to introduce unauthorized principles in the name of so-called swamis, yogis, philanthropists, welfare workers, and so on. Actually, human life is meant for executing the orders of the Supreme Lord, and this is stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:34. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktaivam atmanam matparayana. Engage your mind always in thinking of me and become my devotee. Offer obeisances and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. The main business of human society is to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at all times, to become His devotees, to worship the Supreme Lord, and to bow down before Him. The Acharya, the authorized representative of the Supreme Lord, establishes these principles. But when he disappears, things once again become disordered. The perfect disciples of the Acharya try to relieve the situation by sincerely following the instructions of the spiritual master. And that this particular sentence was the guidance that I needed. It gave me my mission in Srila Prabhupada's physical absence. The perfect disciples of the Acharya try to relieve the situation by sincerely following the instructions of the spiritual master. At the present moment, practically the entire world is afraid of rogues and non-devotees. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is started to save the world from irreligious principles. Everyone should cooperate with this movement in order to bring about actual peace and happiness in the world. So, as Srila Prabhupada has often explained, there are two ways of associating, one by Vani, which is words, and the other by Vapu, which is body or physical presence. And Vapu may or may not be available, but Vani is always available. Recently, we observed Sri Rama Ekadasi, which was the day on which Srila Prabhupada completed his translation of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita at Hare Krishna land in Juhu, Bombay. It was the next morning. As usual, I would go to Srila Prabhupada's quarters to accompany him on his morning walk on Juhu Beach. But that morning, the door was locked. One side was Srila Prabhupada's quarters, and the other side was his staff's quarters. And both doors were locked. But still, I persevered and knocked, and Srila Prabhupada's secretary finally opened the door and said that during the night, Srila Prabhupada had completed his a translation of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he had dictated the most wonderful glorification of his Guru Maharaj in his concluding words. And in Srila Prabhupada's concluding words to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he speaks a lot about Vani and Vapu. And he says that although his spiritual master is not physically present, but he is confident that his spiritual master is pleased with his translation of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And as Srila Prabhupada's secretary who answered the door said that Srila Prabhupada had dictated the most wonderful glorification of his Guru Maharaj, and said that we should celebrate by having a feast. So, but again, this theme of Vani and Vapu is there throughout the concluding words to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this is really our opportunity, as Srila Prabhupada wrote in his dedication to Srimad Bhagavatam, to his spiritual master. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. So we have the opportunity to associate with Srila Prabhupada, serve him, and associate with him by following his instructions. And in one sense, the general instruction is to taste Krishna consciousness and share Krishna consciousness with others, which we can do by speaking and also by distributing his books. And that will please Srila Prabhupada and the entire disciplic succession, and ultimately Krishna. So, yes, thank you for listening so patiently and attentively. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj ki. And now I'm very honored to be able to call Bhaktivedanta Swami, who's come into the assembly here at Naimisharanya. Maharaj, welcome. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Hare Krishna. I'm here with a very special mission. I have gifts to all the present, hopefully all, Srila Prabhupada's disciples here, from the disciples of second generation, due to their loyal and sincere service and following Srila Prabhupada, they managed to give Srila Prabhupada to all of us. It's only because of their dedication and complete surrender to Srila Prabhupada's instructions we're all present here, or most of us are present here. As a little token of gratitude to all of them, devotees from Russia, they prepared a special gift on this day. It's a Murti of Srila Prabhupada. And this Murti is made out of the coins collected during Sankirtan in all those countries which Srila Prabhupada visited. And there was one problem in one South American country, there was no coins anymore. They only have paper. But they finally found one coin which was exactly at the year, which was printed, or how you could say it, issued at the year when Srila Prabhupada visited this particular country, Venezuela. So this is the Murti of Srila Prabhupada, and there is a case, and on the cover of this case, it's a tree, jackfruit tree, under which Srila Prabhupada was born. And a little piece of this tree is included into this kit. And there is a letter from Srila Prabhupada, which was already quoted today. So far as I am concerned, in relationship with my disciples who are so kindly cooperating with me in the matter of my rendering service to my spiritual master, for them I am always ready to come back from Goloka Vrindavan if they are not delivered along with me. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So again, because all these glorious disciples of Srila Prabhupada so kindly managed to bring us into contact with Srila Prabhupada, we are giving Srila Prabhupada back to them. He has come on this day again, and here is Srila Prabhupada in Radha Damodar, his pictures, and here is Srila Prabhupada in San Francisco in Golden Gate Park, chanting Hare Krishna mantra. So that's the gift, and yes, we are ready to give it to those who are present here. We'll start with Giriraj Maharaj. I'll be happy to. This is Satinandan Maharaj. This is for Vaisesika Prabhu and Nirakula Dasi. Thank you. Thank you. And this is for Burijan Prabhu. Where is Burijan Prabhu? Thank you. Thank you much. And this is for Hari Prabhu. Where is he? Okay. Okay. So this is for Urmila. Thank you very much. Thank you. And where is Hari? Oh, Hari Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada has come again. Thank you very much. And this is for Divyanga Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you. And who else is here? Oh, yeah, Banabhata Prabhu. Thank you very much. Thank you. So that was my little offering to Srila Prabhupada and to all his disciples on this day. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you to His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami. Hare Krishna. And now it's a great pleasure to invite the temple president of this beautiful institution here, His Holiness Asit Krishna Maharaj. Please come up and give us some encouragement. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
ओम नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे ओम ज्ञानं तिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनं शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुक्तपदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथनीतं त्वं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादसहगणललिता श्री विशाखानितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So I am indebted to all of you and indebted to Srila Prabhupada. We are actually all are indebted to Prabhupada. And the great Vaishnavas like Maharaj, the Prabhus, all came here. And this is the foot of Giriraj. And we know how Prabhupada did, how Prabhupada is. So all the Maharaj and Prabhus, they already glorify. But I am so insignificant. And when I was reading in college, I was reading the sadhu is like touchstone. Also sadhu is like sandalwood. Sadhu je malaya chandan gachaku karai. Actually this is the Orion verse. Sadhu is like a sandalwood. Sadhu is like touchstone. And when I came contact with the devotees, ISKCON devotees, I can realize actually how the sadhu is like touchstone, how sadhu is like sandalwood. Even ordinary wood, if he can touch, he can make it sandalwood. So many people claims, and now also those who come to in material academic, the college, the universities, they first test their IQ, father and mother IQ, becoming to admit them. And who can make donkey become cow? Donkey, if you, here in Hindi says gadha ko guda banana. So who can, and that person can do, the pure devotee can do that. So many argument is going on in internet. Prabhupada did this, Prabhupada did that, and he make these people, they brought him gift. But this is the miracle you can see. Those people he brought, those who came, and how he gave them and how he make them like touchstone, like sandalwood. And if you have power, can you make someone can make like that? Those who have no IQ, nothing, make them IQ. Make them first class. No. So that needed something. So that is Srila Prabhupada. So what you can see, all our great Vaishnavas, they describe how Prabhupada's qualities, it's also mentioned in Shastras. Like Urmila Mataji, she mentioned, real humbleness, real humility. So actually he is the pure devotee of the Lord. When Chaitanya Charitamrita Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami describes Krupalu, Akrut, all the 26 qualities, all qualities, 25 qualities are Tatastha. But one quality is the Swarup Lakshan, that is the Krishnaika Saranam. He is completely surrendered to Krishna. And you can see, he have never like Bhanavat Prabhu and Maharaj also, he mentions how he is so dedicated to his Guru and Krishna. When we are here and His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj here and Tamal Krishna Maharaj, they want to establish this place. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I don't know anything. When I came here, we find out the Shīlas and what the plan Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I don't know. So actually he has planned, no deity will be here, only Prabhupada deity will be there in altar. And when we came here and we saw the small temple which king was worshipping the Śrīla, and we started to worship this, and the Krishna Balaram, they come out. So when it is finished, I put them to an altar, Krishna Balaram. So when Tamal Krishna Maharaj came, he saw, because his plan was he wants to offer to Prabhupada, this will be Prabhupada palace. I saw he was angry and his face was red. I thought, oh my God, I will take the... And immediately he cooled down. He said, Prabhupada, he never take Krishna's place. So he always credit, give to Krishna always. And you did. I thought I'll put Prabhupada there and his altar. But Prabhupada always want Krishna should be in center. And okay, you put Prabhupada here, stop that door, that was the one way. And put this, close this door and put Prabhupada here. And you can see how Prabhupada's mood and how Prabhupada give importance to Krishna. So that is, that aroma, that teachings, we should take it. And all the Prabhupada's disciples here, they knows, I can see the reflection. Rumila Mataji, when he was saying, fanning Prabhupada, I saw no one is fanning. We put Prabhupada. So immediately come, I mean, actually, you see the Prabhupada disciple, what they learn. And how many times Prabhupada gave them. And this is the sadhu, and Bhanavat Prabhu says, Jesus, Mahavat, so many, those who came, what he gave. And this morning today I was thinking, Prabhupada, what Prabhupada gave? Prabhupada gave to this world Krishna. But so many people came, they gave Krishna. But what Prabhupada gave Krishna? So it's so many things come my mind. It is not time now I can explain this, how he gave Krishna. And in his lectures and his behaviors, many things comes my mind, like how he gave Krishna to this world, uncompromised. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Asit Krishna Maharaj Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna. There's quite a quantity of Vraj here from our first speaker. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shrinivari Paschatya Deshatarne. In this pranam mantra, recently one of my dear friends and godbrother, Satyadev Prabhu, was speaking on Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, and he was mentioning how Prabhupada had written his pranam mantra. But he wrote it as a mission statement that we could be clear about what was the order of his spiritual master and how he intended to carry it out. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne. As he was following his guru, he was expanding what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach. He came to annihilate the misconception of Nirvishesha and Shunyavadi. And he also wanted to do it in Paschatya Desh. Come to the Western countries. That's a very complete mission statement. And it's one that is a beacon for all of us that Prabhupada had a clear mission. And because he had a clear mission, he was able to express it very clearly to us, how we could be of assistance. I've then, or since, thought of the ways in which Prabhupada managed the Krishna consciousness movement, and that is what I've come to think of as mission-driven management. That is that he wanted us to be active in giving people an opportunity to take to Krishna consciousness through the various means that he gave us, for instance, book distribution and establishing communities so that people could come and immerse themselves in the variety, the vilas of Krishna's pastimes together with the devotees. And that mission can be expanded, as Damodar Vamsidhari Prabhu was saying. What is the effectiveness of this? I had a revelation yesterday as we were conducting one of our reading sessions, and one of the devotees, Dhira Prabhu, who joined us just recently, about 5 days ago I think he came here, and during one of our discussions, he said he had gone to Himalaya. Is it Himalaya or Himalaya? Himalaya. He went there to do some bhajan. And he told us that he had gone there and it was pristine. No distractions, clear sky, and air was pure. And in 2 days, he became bored and came down here. And he said and looked, as he described his experience, happy to come back into the fold with devotees, the joyous or even raucous Mangalartiks, the Tulsi experience in the morning, the sitting with devotees and having activities throughout the day. And it was a good parallel to what we've been reading as we're here. During the Kartik, we take on a particular number of pages to read. We try to complete something. Like this time is completing the third canto. And in Prabhupada's teachings, he describes how we can't do without this association of devotees. So Dhira Prabhu proved it. Thanks, Dhira. Wherever you are, he's behind me. It was such a good experiment. He sincerely went to the Himalaya to hear and chant. And after 2 days, he became bored and came back for the association of devotees. So Prabhupada gave us an unlimited scope for that kind of association and the 64 activities of devotional service that we can engage in constantly. Not so long ago, I was compelled to give initiation to a woman who had grown up in a Baptist family, whose family had been multi-generationally involved in that form of Christianity. And by some miracle over some years, she was able to get enough leeway from her husband, who's a pastor, to come and take initiation. It was at the Dallas Temple. And before the initiation took place, I had some correspondence with her husband, who had at least 10 principal complaints, at least. Those are the major ones. So my mind was absorbed in thinking of how to explain Krishna consciousness to one who's oriented towards this form of religion. And I thought about the Baptists and what they do and what their surroundings are like. And my mind really became one with the Baptists before I came to Dallas for the initiation. And when I got there to the Dallas Temple, there was taking rest at night, waking up, going to Mangalartik. And I realized what a sensory overload Krishna consciousness is. Because it started with conch shells blowing at 4:30 in the morning. And then there was fire and smoke, scented smoke, and people coming out swabbing my hand with some scent, and then fans going, and music and dancing. And then when we sat down, the lights come up gradually in that temple to reveal paintings of Krishna's pastimes. There he is dancing with young women and playing with his friends. And all the time I'm trying to reconcile this. How will I explain this? And then to the Baptists, because she was coming and also bringing her entire congregation who had never been to a Hare Krishna temple before, the first time. When you prepare for a class and then a new person walks in, you generally downshift and say, we're not our bodies, and so forth. But what do you say when a Baptist congregation comes? I realized at that time that what we've been given by Srila Prabhupada was so complete and desirable that everyone's looking for that. And throughout his books, he explains how we'll never be satisfied with anything less. And one more thing about the pranam mantra is that when I was once traveling extensively with a godbrother to various holy places, we'd go to the deities and we'd both bow down at the same time. We were joined at the hip during that trip, so I could hear what he was saying, he could hear what I was saying. We were both reciting Prabhupada's pranam mantra when we bowed to the various deities. And one day, even as we had our heads on the ground, he turned to me and said, we're in front of various deities, why are we saying Prabhupada's pranam mantra? And I said, you're my senior godbrother, you tell me. And he said, it lets Krishna know who let us in here. And I started thinking about how Prabhupada let us in everywhere. And when we take the pranam mantra with us and present ourselves, we become presentable. Because I'm under this mission, I'm under this person, and this is my identity. We read this morning from Prahlad Maharaj, we're trying to pick out verses in which Prahlad in his prayers to Lord Nrsingadev talks about Britya Sevam, worshipping the devotees, serving the devotees. And one of the famous verses of Prahlad Maharaj, Evam janam nipatitam pravavahi kupe kama bikam anuyam prapatam prasangat kritvat vasat shurarshina bhagavan grihita soham katam nuvishuje tava britya sevam. He says, and Prabhupada was very fond of this verse, and it fits well with today and the theme of what do we do now, that Prabhupada's no longer physically here, as we often repeat. Evam janam nepatitam, Prahlad expresses this sense of gratitude that you saved me. My spiritual master saved me from what? From a pit full of snakes. And he says, Kama bikam anuya prapatam prasangat. I was just following the normal course of activities which leads one after another into this unfortunate well where there's no escape. And then he says, Kritvatmasat shurarshina, but you've purified me. Kritvatmasat, he said, you caused me to come to a higher standard of life. Shurarshina, who did it? The sage Narada, my spiritual master. Bhagavan Grihito. And then he finishes, Soham katam nu vishuje tava britya sevam. So he says then, so how could I give up his service? So the impetus, as we've heard today, for those who have been recipients of this special bequeathment that comes down through disciplic succession that Prabhupada so profusely and munificently distributed to the world, where he set up systems and laid the groundwork so this would go on in perpetuity and would offer everyone the opportunity to enter into this abundantly joyful atmosphere, is to go on with the mission and to wholeheartedly embrace the process itself. So, this is a day of Tirubhav where we can then realize what's been left behind for us to take advantage of. And just a short anecdote of what's been left behind and how ample it is. Srila Prabhupada's books. So once there was a controversy here in India. After the devotees first came from America to India, some discovered that there were other books about Krishna available. And they brought them home, or brought them back to the ashram, to which the temple president said, you can't have these and you can't bring them into the temple. That's when the controversy started. And at that time in history, the way to resolve such a controversy was to join a morning walk and one side stand on one side of Prabhupada. I mean, those who had taken one position stand on one side of Prabhupada and the other side would stand on the other side. So Prabhupada had what would hold open court as he was walking, have some kind of a stereo presentation. And one side said, Prabhupada, they're saying, meaning the temple president and authority, that we shouldn't read the books of the previous acharyas. And Prabhupada said, I have said? I have not said. He said, I said you should read the books of the previous acharyas, but first you should assimilate what you already have. It's on record. And this idea of assimilating what one has intrigued me, because if we just take one aspect of what Srila Prabhupada left behind, that is his books, and then contemplate how one might assimilate what's in the books, I've thought about what it might take. One idea I have is that the amount of energy that Prabhupada gave to writing his books, which is legendary, we might also apply to reading them. What do you think? Only 5 or 6 people said Hari Bol. No, it's just an idea. I'm not saying everybody should do this, but it's a thought experiment that what if you try to assimilate? And what I realized was the more I try to assimilate, the more the content seems to expand. In fact, somebody commented yesterday that they'd read the same purport 4 or 5 times, but they're still finding things in there, even one of which could be life-changing and be a directive for one's life that one might have carved in some kind of tulsi beads and hung around one's neck that one could live by. One could write a PhD thesis on even one canto or one chapter, even one verse. So how would one assimilate? And this goes to the scope of what kind of bequeathment Prabhupada gave us. Sampradaya, after all, means the gift that keeps on giving. And this is Prabhupada's legacy that he gave more than anybody. He organized it so that everyone would have the opportunity to take advantage of the vilas of Krishna consciousness. Should we break out into dance? I'm on my final sentences. Yat pada pankacha palasa vilasya bhakta karmashrayam gratitam udgratayanti santa. There's a way in which the Srimad Bhagavatam describes how we need that complete absorption in vilas, in the activities of Krishna. And Prabhupada's given us that. He's given us kata through his whole books. One could read the way Prabhupada wrote them, get up at midnight, read all night long, take a little rest, have, I don't know, what could you have? A little japati, and then start reading again. We'd never come to the end of it. What to speak of all the other activities he's given us. I concur with what everyone said earlier, so I hope I get credit for that. And it's a desire of mine, if we could have this kind of a meeting, but extend it maybe over a few weeks and hear everybody speak, because that's one of the proofs of what Prabhupada, the depth of what Prabhupada gave, that it's not generational. It pervades the entire world and gives everyone an opportunity to enter into the same realm of the spiritual world. So if we were to then hear from everyone here, we'd find the same quality of spiritual appreciation for what Srila Prabhupada's given. Thank you very much, everyone, for all that you're doing all over the world. Please be a kind friend to all living beings. And I propose that we go on distributing the great gifts that Srila Prabhupada's given us in their many forms and work together in cooperation. Om Tat Sat. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Now we're going to have a Pushpanjali. Now we're going to have a Pushpanjali ceremony. So this requires some strategy. We would like to make sure that everyone has access to Srila Prabhupada. So starting with the senior devotees, the Ermlin, Nirkula, Sarvabhauma, if you'd all come close, please make sure that you have space. Havi Prabhu has agreed to lead us in the Guru Puja. So if you'd kindly make a seat for him here. And just after the Pushpanjali, we're going to have the Shri Guru Puja, followed by Prasadam. Gaur Premanande Haribol.